Buenas noches amigos, it's me again. Our topic for today is how to use terrain to ward in League of Legends. Being mechanically gifted is important when it comes to climbing up the ladder in ranked mode. Picking champions that are in the meta will certainly increase your odds against enemies with weaker champions, but you will still need to outplay them to make a difference. You will need all the extra information you can get on the map to give yourself an advantage in any possible matchup. Wards are one of the most underrated items in League of Legends, especially in the lower ranks. Warding is mostly linked to the support role, but it doesn't mean that you can't place wards by yourself to make sure you don't get ambushed by the enemy team. Face checking is a common mistake that most League players who are not subscribed to my channel make before warding, and it may cost you your life. No one wants to see their teammate dying for a ward, especially when they know that they could have placed it from a safer position. Using the terrain of Summoner's Rift to your advantage, your wards will be harder to detect because enemy players won't see you placing them most of the time. Aside from that, using these wards you will minimize the risk of you getting caught while placing them. The vision advantage you'll provide to your team will be essential to increase your odds of winning, allowing you to reach higher ranks in the process. I recommend turning off the quick cast feature for your trinket and watchstone until you master the following warding methods. Here are some of the most crucial wards you can place around Summoner's Rift to ensure you and your allies are safe. Bot lane is usually the most crowded place on the map. A total of 4 champions clash and the numbers can quickly increase if the junglers and mid laners decide to rotate down. More often than not, when you're outnumbered you will need to rotate back to safety. Most junglers will try to gank your lane from angles you don't have the vision of to make sure you can't react. It's easy to guess the blind spots of a bot lane duo by their current positioning on the map. If the red side is pushed back to their tower, for example, they may have no vision on the river, meaning a jungler can safely approach from there. The bot lane's warding spots are quite straightforward, but you will need to make sure you don't get picked off while trying to ward. When you are pushed back to your tower as red side in the bot lane, you will lose a lot of vision. You won't have access to the river, meaning you'll be basically cornered to your side of the map. This will allow the enemy jungler to come closer to the lane through the river and wait for an opportunity there as the lane pushes back to the blue side. The map design allows wards to be pushed back and forth if they are placed on areas that aren't accessible by champions. This means if you try putting a ward on top of a wall, you will fail, and your ward will appear at a spot that is the closest to your mouse cursor. You can abuse this mechanic to play the following ward from the safety of your tower. Stick to the wall next to your left and look for the rock that divides the small waterfall in two. Placing the ward to the left of that rock will push it to the bush in the river, allowing you to have a decent line of vision to keep an eye of ganks. While the river is a top rotation candidate for ganks, junglers with gap closers can also choose to take a bypass from their side of the jungle. An enemy fiddle may start charging his ulti from the red side tribush and get a free gank while jumping over the wall. The following ward will give you complete vision over that area, which will allow you to react in time if any enemy champion tries to ruin your day. This one is potentially one of the tougher wards to master, since you'll need to place the ward outside of its cost range. You may not have noticed this before, but you can actually put your ward slightly outside of their normal range if an object is blocking you. You'll need to run into the wall next to the 3 trees left of the bush in the river. Place your cursor where the wall next to the tribush ends. Placing the ward in the exact right spot will push it inside the tribush, and you will have vision over the area. I recommend trying out this ward in practice too until you master it, since you'll be wasting a ward during a real match if you miss this spot. When you are playing aggressively at the red side, it's natural that you will find yourself pushing the wave under the blue team's turret. Though the blue team has an easier time warding their tribush, it may cause the red team's support to miss a bit of experience if they go all the way near it for placing a ward there. The following warding spot will allow you to spend the least amount of time away from the lane, which will also keep your ADC safe. Stand next to the largest tree you can see on your left and try placing the ward where the most left tree ends and the rock part of the terrain starts. This isn't one of the trickiest wards, but it may take you a few tries to master it. Successfully placing this ward will push it to the blue team's tribush. Mid laners may look like they have everything figured out from a support player's perspective, but they need vision as much as anyone on your team. Placing wards is tricky for solo laners because they don't want to miss a single minion in the process, which can turn it into immediate level disadvantage that can get them killed. There are many ways to gank a mid laner, but diving will always be the most tilting one. While you will need to place a ward around the river in most cases, there will also be times that you will need to place a ward behind you in case a jungler tries to wrap around. While this spot looks like any other warding location in our list, you will need to pay close attention to the tree you will be aiming at. You need to place it just below the leaf in the middle section of it, or it won't give you vision inside the bush. Keep in mind that this ward can be used for both blue and red sides. Reaching to the river can be quite challenging for the blue side's top laner when they're under pressure or they expect enemy jungler to be there. You will need to be extremely precise with this one, since placing it incorrectly can send it to completely wrong place. Approach next to the end of the stone part around the wall's right side and get as close as possible. You will need to aim to the end of a row that's located in between all the trees. This ward needs a lot of practice to get it right, so you should absolutely try it out inside the practice tool to make sure you get grasp of it. Each objective on Summoner's Rift has the potential to start a fight. No Baron or Drake attempt will be completely safe unless you eliminate everyone on the enemy team, and the same goes for the towers. If you are trying to take an objective, you can reduce the chances of the enemy team sneaking up on you by preparing well-placed wards. When you are trying to take down Baron on the red side, the blue team will have 4 different angles they can take from their side of the map. Placing a ward for each of them is safe for your team, since the spots are quite open, and you'll be staying in the river during the whole process. However, things aren't that straightforward for the blue team. Without the following wards, you'd need to step on the enemy side of the map, which can hinder your whole Baron attempt if you get picked off. The key to placing this ward is getting close to the pit's edge as close as possible. Once you're in position, you will need to place the ward in the area between your range indicator and the bush. The chances of you putting this ward incorrectly are low, since your champion will start running to place it if you aren't clicking on the right spot. Though it looks like you're placing the ward outside of the bush, a small part of it will be inside it, which will be enough to light it up. The bush behind the red buff isn't the only one you need to look out for. There is also a tri-bush that connects the top lane with the jungle, and it's right next to Baron pit. It can be an excellent spot for enemy jungler to jump right into a Baron pit and steal Baron. And get close to the left side of the pit and click on the green part in between the edges of the 2 stones. Your ward will be placed in the tri-bush. Like how the red team had the advantage of approaching from high ground around the Baron pit, the blue team have the same advantage when it comes to the Drake pit. As a member of the red team, you need to place a couple of wards so the blue team can only dream of stealing your dragons. Your ward's range indicator will be just outside of the bush, but you can still place it inside by moving your cursor slightly outside of the circle. This one is slightly trickier than the first Drake ward. You will notice there is a gap between the pit and the tri-bush you're trying to ward. You can zoom in a little for your first attempts, and there will be a snail. Placing your ward precisely on top of that snail will push it right into the tri-bush. This is it for now. Pretty sure it was quite an uncommon video about vision, but that's an intro that we need to bring before creating the new video about how to prepare objectives with your wards, how to ward if you are ahead or behind, how to ward if you are pushing, how to ward if you are getting sieged, and so on. Make sure to like, comment this video so more people get to see and learn those small tricks that can help you to win League of Legends.